How it's all transpired, Cockham and John said to me some time ago that he would like to maybe start up a satellite club because he's got quite a few friends in the medical profession that can't make it during the day, but they would like to meet of an evening. So I spoke to somebody at District to find out who the best person was, and they said, well, you ought to see Phil. So Phil's just going to come along to tell us how we can start these other clubs, satellite clubs and what have you, and hopefully John can then start on these friends. So I'll introduce you to Phil.
I need to see my screen, I'm afraid. Thank you very much for inviting me along today. And Norman's right, I'm one of the Growth Opportunity team. That's what GO stands for, Growth Opportunities. It's headed by Rotarian Leslie Sully, who is going to be our district governor in 3 years' time, 2.5, something like that. The presentations is going to be an overview today, and it's in 3 parts. What's led us to get to these growth opportunities, the alternative styles of club that we can produce from these opportunities, and also there's some different types of membership that some of you may have heard of, may not have heard of. It is an overview, and what I would say is I'm going to ask the club at the end of it to have a little think around what they've heard. Is there anything that interests them, and then we can come back and spend a bit more time in detail in the area that you may be interested in. So it's an overview to give you a flavour, and should you want something else, we can come back and help you with that. So what I'd like to do, if it's all right with you, is go through the presentation first, and then just have a little bit of a general discussion or any really burning questions afterwards. I've got to say that this is probably the first GO presentation we've done as a district, so hopefully things will go reasonably well. Let's enjoy it, shall we? So, what is Rotary GO? And they say that through a combination of new club and membership types, Rotary clubs in Great Britain and Ireland have the opportunity to adapt and change, become more vibrant and attract new members as never before. It is an absolute opportunity, this. It's one that's been given to us in Britain and Ireland. It's a bit of a test actually for what can be achieved by it. And if it goes well, it could actually be developed into the future of Rotary worldwide. So let's just think why we've got to where we've got to today. Now, I'm going to say straight away that this is a very general presentation. It doesn't necessarily reflect every club. In fact, it won't reflect every club, and there are things on this slide I know don't reflect this club necessarily. But do we need to change the image of Rotary to attract younger people these days? And there is a perception that the typical Rotarian is perceived as male, pale, frail and stale. I hope I'm not frail. I'm male and pale, and I'm not quite sure I'm stale at this stage, but we need to look at clubs perhaps in that way, and some are like that. Traditionally we're pretty middle class people. A lot of us are retired again. I know that most clubs have got people that aren't retired, and this club has certainly got pre-retired people, non-retired people. Pretty professional. Average age again is 70 plus. In fact, the average age in our IBI is about 74 at the minute of Rotarians. So it just
very young, isn't it?
It does identify why we've got to do something now. It's a ticking time bomb nationally. Okay. Lots of members have been members for 20 plus years. I would say that doesn't include me. I've only been a member for 9 years of Rotary, but it's probably one of the best memberships I've ever taken up. I love
Excuse me,
Rotary.
why these Rotarians are naked?
We've carefully scrubbed away the important parts. Okay, but one thing is well established in the local area. Most clubs are well established and are admired by local people. So we've got a lot of tradition, which is very, very good. Okay, now these are some of the things that you don't have to do now in Rotary. And I've got to start by saying that it doesn't, not everything applies. That red's not coming out very well on that screen, is it? No. So do you think if we take some lights out, it might be a bit better? Let's just see. But all that's saying is that there are no rights and wrongs, and some of our most successful clubs actually have all these things, or some of them. But let's just go through some of them. We don't have to have meals. We don't have to have fixed agendas. We don't have to have speakers. We don't have to have regalia. Notice you're without regalia today. Sorry. We don't need top tables. We don't need to say prayers. We don't need to wear ties. And we don't need toasts. They're things we do and celebrate, and it's not wrong to celebrate them if we enjoy them as a club or as a group of people. But just think, does that and all those things attract people today? I'll give you an example. I was at work, always wore collar and tie. It was the right thing to do, it was the right image. But today, younger people in very senior jobs are often wearing polo shirts and slacks. They still look, very smart. So things are changing, but I'm not saying what we do is wrong, and why we shouldn't do what we enjoy doing ourselves. So let's get that quite straight. So, that's the bell. We don't need a bell either. And this particular Rotary Club at Oswestry are actually saying, gone some of those images, and even some of the more flexible things that I'm going to come and talk about in a second. And the watchwords for Rotary today are innovation, flexibility, relevance, and value. I could go into some of those in more detail. I need to. I think you probably understand there what I'm saying. And the next question I ask is your club appealing and welcoming? And this is where I think things are important to consider. Is the time and location of your meeting inconvenient, costly, and imposing to potential members? So, do potential members want to be spending on meals, for instance, which considerably adds to the cost of Rotary? Again, I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, but we've got to find ways, I think, of introducing opportunities for new Rotarians to enjoy the gift of Rotary without having to spend quite as much as we are happy to do. Is too much time spent on tradition and ceremony? That's the things we were talking at just a little bit earlier. Club meetings are meant to be fun, and I think I speak now as a former assistant governor in this area, and I've visited this club and I've found it to be a friendly club and a fair buzz in here. So you're having fun. Is it fun for everyone? I think that's the question we ask. Okay. And then, could you add alternative meeting times and locations? It's a question I leave open for a second, and we'll come on to say how you can do it in just a minute. And could things be livened up? Okay? So, they're questions you need to ask yourself about. And RIBI has set out that it wants to have a vibrant club in every town. What does a vibrant club look like? Well, it engages members, it engages with members. So members of a club have the opportunity to do things that they want to do in serving the community, and a right to say what they want to do. We will have meaningful projects. I think we've all got some projects, but think to yourselves, how many projects have you got that are, not just fundraising projects, but projects that are out there in the community? And they're quite meaningful projects. Does the club reflect the diversity of members? Are you doing things that all members in your club want to do? And we're asking you to try new ideas, and if they don't work, try something else. You can try and get it wrong, but at least you've tried, and then do something else. And I think the other thing is the club, a vibrant club, will be open to letting the club actually evolve over time. So here we go, let's look at Rotary Go. And there are 5 growth opportunities. Just to remind ourselves, Rotary Go sort of looks back at the ticking time bomb of age average Rotarians in this country. So how can we actually evolve and grow our membership? And these opportunities are all quite new. Some have been tried in places and tried and tested and are doing quite well. Some of them are very, very new. And we're going to be looking at satellite clubs, innovative and flexible clubs, e-clubs, and also two types of membership, associate membership and corporate membership. Again, only briefly this time round. So I'm going to spin through this one about the three types of clubs I've just mentioned, and we'll look at a satellite club first, okay? So why would we want to create a satellite club in the first place? And there are some reasons here. The community's got a demand that you can't meet alone. So is there more demand for Rotary service within your community than this club or clubs associated around it can actually do? And I think at this present time there is becoming more and more demand for Rotary help within the community. So I think that's a really important point. It's a chance to create a new and different organisation that's attractive to a new group of people. We talked about the young people before. You know, let's see if we can create something that will engage some younger people maybe and let them share in what we do for the community. Because there are lots of people out there that really do want to do things for their community. It could be because your own club is failing to recruit. I'm not sure about this club in recent years. We in Lee have recruited 3 or 4 new members in the last 2 years, but they've all been my age and some older. So it is part of the same group of people. We've certainly not recruited in the last few years some young people. And also, a satellite club is a short route to creating a new club. And here, I just put my hat on for a second as club extension officer for the district. One of the key objectives I've been given for the year is to create at least one new club in the district. Now, it's much easier, I think, for me and my job to get clubs in areas that have got relatively low representation to engage in one of these new opportunities, and it would be for me to lead a team of people around and trying to create a brand new club that's, I won't say in opposition to others, but will complement others in the area. I'd much sooner work with clubs and get some new clubs going, or satellites, or additions to existing clubs, and we'll come on to that in just a second. Okay, so with satellite clubs, the existing club, so if you were to decide you wanted to introduce a satellite club, you would be its sponsor. There's no minimum number needed to form a satellite club. It could be one person, although I appreciate that that is not really realistic. But there isn't a minimum number. But to actually form a core of a satellite club that can be recognised within our RBI as a satellite of this club, if it was you that wanted to go forward with it, you'd want about 8 members. And if it reaches 20, then it can, if it wishes, charter, apply for a charter and become a new club. And that would be like a daughter club of the existing one. We don't see so many, do we, these days, that we used to. A member of a satellite club, until it becomes chartered as a club in its own right, which could be years and years away, are members of the sponsor club. Okay? They do hold separate meetings, but operate within Rotary rules. We'll come on to those rules in just a minute because they're not as constraining as some people think. And so there's no time limit as to how long a club can exist as a satellite. So there's some key things around satellite clubs, and if that's the way you want to go forward, I can come back and give you far more detail on the way you would go about forming one and the processes you need to go through. Now there is an alternative to this, and it's called innovative and flexible. And this really is quite new and groundbreaking. With an innovative and flexible club, there's far more focus on service and less on holding meetings. Okay? Now, I'll say something about meetings because I was asked at lunchtime. You don't have to attend a meal as part of your attendance requirement. You can actually be doing service in a project, you can be doing something for the district, you could be doing something with another club. There's all sorts of things that you could be doing that counts towards, you know, being a Rotarian. So there are ways of overcoming this attendance rule, but with innovative and flexible, it can actually self-determine, it can change its own bylaws, okay? So you can write your own thing that suits what you're trying to achieve. Now, there's also a generous interpretation on those qualified for membership. So it's much broader. What we're after is people that want to be active in actually helping their local communities, and we want them to become Rotarians. Now, existing clubs can become innovative and flexible. So, as an alternative to the satellite option that we were talking about just now that may appeal to you, this club could become innovative and flexible in its own, and it can determine that perhaps it would like to meet on two different occasions. You know, it'll continue for those that really want it, the Thursday lunchtime meeting, I think it's at my own club now, Monday lunchtime, but you can continue with that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's what people have got used to, the existing members have got used to, and they enjoy it. But you could also set up an evening meeting for others that may be interested in joining. They will all be members of this same club, okay? So they don't have to form a satellite, but you will need to change your rules, and we can go through that again in more detail, should you wish to go that way, to further yourself. I think this is really exciting and could be a much better way forward, actually, sometimes than satellite clubs. So please give that some thought, because it is quite a simple way, although you've got to change your rules to sort of satisfy the group that you're trying to set up, but that can be done relatively easily. Okay. Now, actually, I'll give you an example. There's one example there, but under innovative and flexible, before I get onto this one, the club at Winchester's got about 3 or 4 different meeting times now, and lots of groups of people, and it's really grown in terms of membership as a result of that. Rotary Club at Maidenhead Bridge, that's an interesting club. It's been going, I think, for a couple of years now, and it's formed around younger people who meet in a coffee shop once a fortnight. That's their meeting, and it's lots of family involvement. And if I could just say, if ever you felt you wanted to get something with sort of family involvement, our existing district governor would love to set up like a family club. Okay, so just something that we could consider. So that's sort of innovative and flexible and satellite clubs. Now, there is a third. I don't know whether this would appeal to you, but there are, there's beginning to get a little bit of groundswell about e-clubs. They work in a way that members of the club could come from all over the world. And there is an e-club set up in the eastern region, I think based around Norwich somewhere, and they have members from Scotland, for instance, as an example, and they all meet quite regularly, but not at meetings as we know, but on the internet, and they'll use webinars so they can talk to each other and see each other as they do it. They'll use Skype, Google Hangout, I don't know about Google, I've not heard of that one before, video conferencing and all those things. And they can attend, they're very flexible because they can attend their meetings at any time of day or whatever. But a question was asked of someone at the RIBI Assembly the other day, someone who's actually set one of these clubs up. Do you ever meet face to face? And the answer was yes. They had a big thing on in East Anglia, and the members from Scotland actually attended it. So it does happen. You know, you can get around that one. Now, 2 types of membership are available to us as well. Associate membership. Do people know much about associate membership? No, it really is a try before you buy type of membership. Again, you need to write rules around it if you wanted to go forward that way, but it allows a potential member to become associated and acquainted with, you know, the club. So as it stands at the minute, and its members, the programs and projects that it's involved in, the expectations of membership. So they become part of your Rotary club, but they can't become a club officer, and they're not Rotarians. They don't have to pay any fees or anything like that initially, not for districts, not for RIBI. But it's not quite the same as Friends of Rotary. Okay, Friends of Rotary is something about people who come along and help you at events and things like that don't want to become specifically part of the Rotary Club. So the club decides the rules on associate membership, how you approve an associate member, what fee to charge. I said there's no RIBI district fees, but if the club wanted to charge a fee for that associate member, they could. Also the attendance requirements of that person, how long the associate membership should last. Okay, so there's no hard and fast rule about that. If you're looking at someone who may want to come along and try before you buy, you don't want that to be for too long, do you? Okay. And also whether the associate can vote on club issues. It might be an officer that they could potentially vote, but it's up to the club to decide the rules, and you would need to do that. And also how to terminate associate membership should that be necessary. What I would say about associate membership is not open to existing Rotarians, so it's not a way of allowing people to not pay the fees in the future. Finally, corporate membership. Does anyone know much about corporate membership? This is another new initiative, and it's really aimed at local businesses or organisations who have something to do or want to do something in the community. And local businesses do have community objectives. And what they can do as a business is designate up to 4 of their members, 4 of their employees to become members of a Rotary Club at any one time. And the designees pay the standard joining and RIBI fees. Normally the company would pay that for them, I think, in this situation. They would therefore become full Rotarians, have full voting rights. It does strengthen ties with local businesses, and there's opportunities, I think, for us there, so that the company can meet its corporate social responsibilities. Okay, and at any time during that membership, they can, the nominees can change, so it doesn't have to be the same 4 people all the time. So what I've done here is I've gone through 2 types of membership, 3 types of potential ways forward as clubs. We've looked at associate membership, we've looked at corporate membership, we've looked at satellite clubs briefly, we've looked at innovative and flexible briefly, and we've looked at e-clubs briefly, okay? And Paul Harris, our founder, said, Rotary must be evolutionary at all times, revolutionary on occasions. This is somewhat, I think, getting towards revolutionary, isn't it? So, what next? I think I'd like you to think about the opportunities that are available to you as a club. If you believe any of them are for you, get in touch with our Growth Opportunities team. And we're going to come along and talk a bit further and discuss a bit further what the implications are of those chosen, or that chosen option or options that you would like to consider might mean, and then discuss ways on how we can help you move that forward. Okay? And we're happy to provide support right the way through that continued journey. This is not a one-off here now. We'll come back and support you to try and move forward. I'd like to thank you again as a club for being great in actually asking us to come along so quickly. You know, this I think is probably the first presentation under our growth opportunities team, and that's great. And we appreciate that, and just hope we can actually move this forward and provide this club to go from strength to strength. So there we go. That's my lot. I've left a form with Jeff to complete, which sort of asks you what you may consider will be useful for you and what support you may need from us in the future. I've also left some leaflets there, one for every member, which covers the key points of the presentation today. So please take those and enjoy them. And I'll just sort of open it out now to anyone. I appreciate time's probably getting a bit tight, but sorry it took longer than I thought. It is the first one. Are there any real burning questions?
Well, there must be. Any questions? Cockham and John.
Just one question. You told in your slide that there is a possibility of changing the club bylaws.
Yes.
Is it allowed within the RIBI this one or?
Yes.
You can
it
change
is,
the bylaws.
and what we will do is we'll go through that process with you, what would need to change. Because if you were to go to the innovative and flexible thing, for instance, you would need to change your club bylaw to actually reflect what you're trying to achieve. Okay? But that's with the, you can still have within that bylaw what you have now, if that's what you want, but also something different for another group that you might, or another meeting time that you're trying to set up. It really is the opportunity to be flexible. It may only be around for a year or two, so let's make the most of it. Because once we've done it, we've done it.
Yes, Terry.
You briefly touched on Friends of Rotary, but it wasn't in your presentation.
No, it's to us, Friends of Rotary is not really about a growth opportunity in terms of Rotary member. Sorry, let me just rewind on that. That's right. Let me rewind on that, because it is an opportunity, but we don't want to sort of do away with Friends of Rotary. It's still a very, very useful thing for clubs, and yes, it can bring people in over a period of time, but typically most Friends of Rotary, we've now got associate membership, which could actually not replace Friends of Rotary, but could actually be an additional category for people who want to help out at events, and also may be interested in becoming full Rotarians without committing themselves straight away. And that could be up for a period, it's up to the club to decide, but people talk about 2 years as being perhaps the longest period for that. But Friends of Rotary is still a good thing.
Colin, any questions about e-clubs?
Yes.
Colin, yeah, go on.
Well, I have realised on Facebook, I see a club that's actually actively involved with e-conferencing. I don't honestly think there's many, or if any, in our club that would perhaps be interested in that, to be quite truthful.
And I understand that and fully accept it, but if there could be another group of people that want to attach themselves to
yes,
the industry
I agree.
that may be interested, and I think that's just something I put it into the presentation because it is a way forward, but I'm not putting anything in there as a way for this club. This club's got to think about the things that may suit it best, and that's what this is all about. It's not about changing your club at all necessarily, doing the things you want to do and doing them well, but have the opportunity to actually expand and do other things in addition. And I think these opportunities are there and sort of match in with discussions I certainly had over lunch.
Are there any other comments or questions? Well, I'd like to thank Phil for coming once again to our club, coming down a regular visit to Hope, and for opening our eyes, and it will be another topic of conversation this evening at Club Council, I'm sure, and we will eventually complete the questionnaire and return it to you in due course. So would you please thank Phil in the normal way for coming and spending time with us. And, congratulations on his first presentation.
Well done.
Did everyone understand it?
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I was speaking to Leslie, I'll tell her who it was.